March 6, 2002, Kitakyushu, southern Japan. A young woman runs into a police station, barely able to stand. Her body is covered in bruises. She's malnourished, shaking, terrified. What she tells the officers sounds like something out of a horror movie. 7 people murdered in a single apartment. Over the span of 2 years, bodies dismembered, boiled in pots, thrown into the ocean, flushed down toilets, no graves, no remains, no forensic evidence. Among the dead, her own father, tortured in front of her eyes. 2 children, ages 10 and 5. The police arrest 2 suspects, a man, Futoshi Matsunaga, 41 years old, a con artist, a rapist, a killer, and a woman, Junko Ogata, 40 years old, former kindergarten teacher, from a wealthy, respectable family. She confesses to everything: participation in 7 murders, torturing her own parents, helping dismember and boil bodies, including her sister's children. The question that will haunt Japan for decades: who is Junko Ogata? A cold-blooded serial killer who destroyed her own family? Or a victim so broken that she became a weapon in someone else's hands? This is not a story about a monster born a monster. This is a story about control, about fear, and about the terrifying line between victim and executioner. To understand how Junko Ogata ended up in that apartment, we need to go back 20 years to a girl who should never have become a killer. February 25, 1962, Kurume City, Fukuoka Prefecture. A daughter is born into a wealthy family. Her name, Junko Ogata. Money, education, a predictable future, school, college, work, marriage, children. The classic biography of a middle-class Japanese woman. In school, she's described as quiet, soft-spoken, obedient, no problems, no rebellion. After college, she becomes a kindergarten teacher, the most proper profession for a young Japanese woman. She's dedicated, never late, never calls in sick. The principal later recalls, "She was a polite young lady who enjoyed being with kids. She really tried her hardest." But in 1985, something changes. She collapses at work during a parent observation day, takes a week off, and never comes back. The principal tries to reach her, can't find her anywhere. When Junko finally appears to collect her severance pay, she's different, distant, and then she vanishes completely. Rumors spread among neighbors. She found herself a man, some say. Others whisper, she's with that Matsunaga guy. And at that moment, someone from her past reappears. A former high school classmate. His name is Futoshi Matsunaga. She barely remembers him. He transferred to another school when they were teenagers. But he remembers her. Futoshi Matsunaga was born April 28, 1961, in Kitakyushu. On the surface, charming, confident, well-mannered, sharp-minded. Someone who knew how to make an impression. But even in school, there were problems. He was a juvenile delinquent, transferred to another school because of an inappropriate relationship with a younger female student. At the age of 19, he marries and has a son. Marriage doesn't stop him from pursuing other women. Building an empire on lies, Matsunaga establishes a company called World, selling futons. By 1985, he purchases a 3-story building. The business flourishes during Japan's economic bubble, but beneath the surface, it's all fraud. Matsunaga doesn't sell futons, he sells lies. He extracts money through blackmail and manipulation. By the early 1990s, he's accumulated 180 million yen, approximately $1.4 million, through illegal schemes. On the 3rd floor of his building, Matsunaga begins experimenting with a new tool of control: electricity, exposed wires, electric shocks, not enough to end a life immediately, just enough to break a will. The meeting with Junko, October 1982. Matsunaga begins a relationship with Junko Ogata. He's still married. She's not his only lover, but he plans to marry her. For her, he's a strong, successful businessman. For him, she's the perfect victim: insecure, isolated, inexperienced. Junko had never been in a relationship before. He knows this, and he uses it. Initially, Junko's mother, Shizumi, opposes the relationship. She sees the abuse. She calls Matsunaga a sadist. She tries to protect her daughter, but Matsunaga is a master manipulator. He orchestrates a confrontation with Shizumi, turning himself into the victim, unjustly scorned and humiliated by Junko's own mother. The manipulation works. Junko sees him as wronged, misunderstood. She sides with him against her own family. Matsunaga promises to marry Junko, but her mother still refuses to approve. The tension escalates. February 1985. Junko attempts to end her own life. At her lowest point, Matsunaga feigns compassion, stays by her side, convinces her that her family hates her because of her struggles, that they blame her for the shame she's brought them. Shortly after, Matsunaga and Junko move in together. He's broken her connection to her family, isolated her completely. She's his now. They have 2 sons together. On the outside, a family. On the inside, a prison. The collapse. Matsunaga's company collapses. Debts pile up. Creditors come calling. Many of them are Yakuza, organized crime members Matsunaga defrauded. He knows if they catch him, he's dead. Matsunaga and Junko disappear. Police issue a warrant for their arrest for fraud. They're now on Japan's most wanted list, and this is when Matsunaga's methods evolve from financial fraud to something far darker. April 1993. The married woman with 3 children. Matsunaga's first confirmed victim is a married woman with 3 children. He convinces her to leave her husband and run away with him. He tells her Junko is his sister. The woman believes him. During their relationship, Matsunaga defrauds her of 11.8 million yen, approximately $90,000. September 1993. One of her children dies under mysterious circumstances. October 1993. Her 2 remaining children are taken away by their father and grandfather. March 1994. The woman dies. Cause of death unknown. Police suspect Matsunaga but cannot prove his involvement. This is Matsunaga's trial run, a test of his system. Late 1994. Kumio Toraya and his daughter Matsunaga's next targets. Kumio Toraya, 34 years old, and his 17-year-old daughter. Kumio is a former colleague from Matsunaga's real estate days. He has money, connections, and secrets. Matsunaga gains information about Kumio's past, previous convictions, minor crimes. He uses this to blackmail him. Under psychological pressure, Kumio even confesses to crimes he never committed. Matsunaga and Junko move in with Kumio and his daughter in January 1995. They call themselves the Hashimoto family. To neighbors, Junko is the girl's aunt, but neighbors notice something wrong. The girl always looked really gloomy, one recalls. Inside the apartment, Matsunaga begins his system of control. The methods: Matsunaga uses electricity, exposed wires connected to a power source. Victims are shocked repeatedly: hands, legs, back, genitals. It doesn't end their lives immediately, but it causes unbearable pain, and it paralyzes the will to resist. He forces father and daughter to harm each other. They were forced to punch each other upon fear of being given a jolt from a stun gun, a friend of the girl later testifies. She was ordered to punch her father as hard as she could. That experience really hurt her. He starves them, feeds them only scraps. In winter, he locks them in a freezing bathroom and sprays icy water on them for hours. He breaks down their identities, makes them believe they're guilty, that they deserve punishment. They aren't tied up. There are no physical restraints. But they can't leave. Fear holds them tighter than any chain. February 26, 1996. Kumio Toraya dies. After months of torture, Kumio Toraya's body can no longer sustain life. He dies from prolonged abuse. He's 34 years old. Witnesses later testify, Kumio never resisted until the end. Even under torture, he told the pregnant Junko that he hoped her baby would be born healthy. Matsunaga uses the body as the final lesson for the daughter. He convinces her that she's responsible for her father's passing, that her hands caused it. He orders Junko and the girl to dispose of the remains. They dismember the body, boil parts in pots, throw pieces into the ocean from a ferry. Summer, 1997. Neighbors in the apartment building hear strange noises. We could hear the noise of a saw being used in their apartment until around 3 a.m., one recalls. And there was this vile stench that permeated the entire apartment block. But no one calls the police. In Japan, people don't interfere in others' private matters. The girl is now completely under Matsunaga's control, a prisoner without chains, held by fear alone. April 1997. The staged departure. Junko leaves the apartment one day and doesn't return. Matsunaga contacts her family, claiming concern for her safety. He tells them Junko is missing, possibly in danger. Behind the scenes, he's blackmailing Junko's mother, Shizumi. He tells her family that Junko is a murderer, that she's involved in terrible crimes. He threatens to expose her. Then Matsunaga stages his ultimate manipulation, his own death. He releases false information that he's taken his own life. He even holds a fake funeral. The news reaches Junko. She believes he's gone, finally free. She returns home, only to find that he's alive, waiting for her. The psychological devastation is complete. There is no escape. There never was. Matsunaga violently abuses Junko, breaks her further. The trap closes. Matsunaga then targets Junko's entire family. He convinces her parents to merge the family business, promises investments, profit, stability. He extorts 63 million yen from Junko's family, approximately $485,000, an enormous sum. The family quits their jobs, sells part of their property, moves to Kitakyushu to live with Matsunaga and Junko. They don't know they're walking into hell. The victims have names: Takashige Ogata, Junko's father, 61 years old, a hard-working man who provided for his family all his life. Shizumi Ogata, Junko's mother, 58 years old, the woman who tried to protect her daughter from Matsunaga years ago. Now she'll pay for that interference. Rieko Ogata, Junko's younger sister, 33 years old, married, 2 children. She had no idea what awaited her family. Kazuya Ogata, Rieko's husband, 38 years old, father of 2, a man trying to provide for his family. Aya Ogata, Rieko's daughter, 10 years old, an ordinary Japanese schoolgirl who loved drawing. Yuki Ogata, Rieko's son, 5 years old, a child who still believed the world was safe. 6 people, all relatives. All will end up in the same apartment, and none will survive. The apartment becomes a closed system. Matsunaga plays the role of family head. He controls every movement, every word, every thought. His methods are not random acts of violence. They're calculated, systematic, designed to break down identity, dignity, and family bonds. Method 1. The confession system. Matsunaga forces family members to confess their sins. He gets them drunk, loosens their inhibitions, and extracts admissions of minor transgressions, real or imagined. Once someone confesses, Matsunaga uses it as leverage. You admitted to lying to your spouse. That's betrayal. You deserve punishment. He documents everything, keeps written records of confessions, uses them to justify violence. Method 2. Divide and control. Matsunaga plays family members against each other. He tells Junko that her mother tried to seduce him. He tells the mother that Junko is plotting against her. He creates paranoia. No one trusts anyone. Everyone suspects everyone. The family bond, the one thing that could unite them against him, is destroyed. Method 3. Forced participation. This is Matsunaga's most devastating technique. He doesn't just punish victims himself. He forces family members to harm each other. Mother against daughter, husband against wife, children against parents. Why? Because once someone participates in violence against a loved one, guilt consumes them. They feel complicit. They believe they're as guilty as Matsunaga, and guilt is a chain stronger than any physical restraint. Method 4. Isolation through shame. Matsunaga violates Junko's mother, Shizumi. He violates Junko's sister, Rieko. He uses these acts as tools of manipulation, making the women feel shame in front of their own family members. He photographs everything, creates pornographic images, threatens to show them to the world if anyone tries to leave. Shame becomes another prison, another reason they can't escape. Method 5. The electric wire. The tool Matsunaga perfected years ago remains ever present. Electric shocks administered as punishment. Random, unpredictable. Prosecutors later revealed the extent of his cruelty. Even the youngest members of the family were not spared from this torture. Court documents detail how Matsunaga used violence indiscriminately, targeting the most vulnerable to maintain absolute control. This is not punishment for a specific transgression. This is terror designed to keep everyone in a state of constant fear. The result: by late 1997, the Ogata family has been living under Matsunaga's control for months. They're starving, sleep-deprived, subjected to systematic violence, psychologically shattered. And Matsunaga realizes something. They've run out of money, and they know too much. It's time for the murders to begin. December 21st, 1997. Takashige Ogata, 61 years old. Matsunaga orders Junko to end her own father's life. 61-year-old Takashige is subjected to electric shock until his body stops functioning. Junko participates. Her mother Shizumi and 10-year-old niece Aya are forced to hold him down as he passes. The court later determines that Takashige's passing was not direct murder, but death resulting from injuries caused by electrocution. A technicality. But he's still gone. His body is dismembered, boiled in pots on the stove. The remains are flushed down the toilet and thrown into the ocean. January 20th, 1998. Shizumi Ogata, 58 years old. Months of abuse have driven Shizumi to the edge of sanity. She makes strange sounds, can no longer communicate normally. Matsunaga convinces Rieko and her husband Kazuya that Shizumi is a threat, that she'll expose them, that she's the reason for their suffering. Under his psychological pressure, Rieko and Kazuya end Shizumi's life. They strangle her. The remains are disposed of the same way. February 10, 1998. Rieko Ogata, 33 years old. The abuse has left Rieko deaf. She can no longer hear. Matsunaga decides she's no longer useful. He orders her husband Kazuya and 10-year-old Aya to end Rieko's life. Aya holds her aunt down. Kazuya strangles her, a child forced to participate in ending her aunt's life. The pattern repeats. April 13, 1998. Kazuya Ogata, 38 years old. Kazuya has now directly ended the lives of two people, his mother-in-law and his own wife. The psychological weight is unbearable. He's exhausted, broken. Matsunaga confines him in a bathroom, starves him. Kazuya's body shuts down. He passes away from starvation and abuse. Once again, the remains are destroyed. May 17, 1998. Yuki Ogata, 5 years old. The children remain, two innocent victims who never had a chance. Matsunaga orders Junko, 10-year-old Aya, and Kumio's daughter to end the life of 5-year-old Yuki. Aya, his own sister, strangles him while Junko and Kumio's daughter hold him down. A 10-year-old girl forced to end her 5-year-old brother's life. His small body meets the same fate as those before him. June 7, 1998. Aya Ogata, 10 years old. Aya is the final victim. She's witnessed the destruction of her entire family, been forced to participate in ending her own aunt's and brother's lives. She's tortured with electric shocks. Matsunaga decides she's no longer useful. He orders Kumio's daughter to strangle Aya. During the trial, Kumio's daughter testifies about Aya's final days. Junko disputes parts of the testimony, suggesting the girl's memories may be distorted by guilt. But the facts remain. Aya was tortured, and then she was gone. Her body is disposed of like all the others. The aftermath: a friend of Kumio's daughter later reveals a horrifying detail. The girl talked about a stew Matsunaga and Ogata made using her father's body parts, and how Matsunaga insisted that she drink the broth. By mid-1998, only 4 people remain in the apartment: Matsunaga, Junko, their 2 sons, and Kumio Toraya's daughter. 7 people are gone. No bodies. Everything dismembered, boiled, flushed down toilets, thrown into the ocean. Matsunaga blames everything on Junko. She's now the only survivor in her family besides her 2 children. He tells her she's the murderer, that it's all her fault, and in her broken state, she believes him. July 2000. Even after 7 murders, Matsunaga continues his predatory behavior. A mother runs away from home, lured by the prospect of marriage. Matsunaga and Junko defraud her of 20 million yen, approximately $154,000. August 2001. She gives her twins to Matsunaga and Junko, believing they'll care for the children. Instead, they extort more money under the guise of child-rearing expenses. By early 2002, 4 children are living in the apartment: Matsunaga and Junko's 2 sons and the twins, and Kumio's daughter is still there, a prisoner for 6 years, waiting for a chance to escape. January 30, 2002. Kumio's daughter makes her first escape attempt. She runs. February 15, 2002. Matsunaga finds her, brings her back. She's punished with electric shocks, torture. But something has changed. She's tasted freedom, and she's determined to be free again. March 6, 2002. Matsunaga and Junko leave the apartment. The girl seizes her chance. She runs. This time, she makes it. She reaches her grandfather's home, then the police station. She tells them everything: the torture, the deaths, the bodies boiled in pots. She names names, provides details. March 7, 2002. Police arrest Futoshi Matsunaga and Junko Ogata as they attempt to retrieve the girl. 4 children are taken into protective custody: the twins and Matsunaga and Junko's 2 sons. The investigation. In the apartment, police find no bodies, no physical evidence of deaths, but they find traces: bloodstains on walls and floors, burned fabric, exposed electrical wires, tools for dismemberment, pots that had been used to boil remains, and records, diaries where Matsunaga documented confessions from victims, pornographic photographs and videos he'd taken of the women, written proof of his control. But without bodies, the case is fragile. The prosecution has only 2 sources: the testimony of Kumio's daughter and the confessions of Junko Ogata. Matsunaga denies everything, claims he's innocent, insists the women fabricated their stories. Between September 2002 and May 2003, Matsunaga and Junko are formally arrested 7 separate times, once for each victim. The trial begins. It will last 3 years. The challenge for prosecutors: proving 7 murders without physical remains, without forensic evidence, without bodies to examine. Judge Wakamiya later explains the court's reasoning. The 2 women's statements and court testimony were reliable. Ogata spoke candidly and in concrete terms, including facts that were disadvantageous for her. The details are consistent, specific, impossible to fabricate. Kumio's daughter provides testimony about her 6 years in captivity, about watching her father be tortured, about being forced to participate in violence, about the stew made from her father's remains. Junko calmly admits to her role in the murders, provides details, accepts responsibility. Matsunaga maintains his innocence throughout. March 2, 2005. The prosecution's closing statement. Prosecutors demand the death penalty for both defendants. Their statement is unprecedented. This case is without comparison in the criminal history of our country. They detail the brutality, the systematic torture, the forced participation, the children. The courtroom is silent. September 28, 2005. The verdict. The Kokura branch of Fukuoka District Court delivers its judgment. Both defendants, Futoshi Matsunaga, 44, and Junko Ogata, 43, are sentenced to execution by hanging. The court's finding: 6 intentional murders and 1 unintentional death. Takashige Ogata, whose passing resulted from injuries rather than direct killing. The judge's words: the defendant's actions were cruel, twisted, and inhumane. But Junko appeals. September 26, 2007. The appellate decision. Fukuoka High Court reviews the case and makes a historic ruling. Matsunaga's sentence remains unchanged: execution by hanging. But Junko's sentence is reduced from execution to life imprisonment. The reasoning: the court acknowledges that Matsunaga exercised extreme control over Junko through domestic violence, that she was subjected to years of systematic abuse, that her ability to resist had been destroyed. This doesn't erase her guilt, but it recognizes a critical distinction. She was both perpetrator and victim. Japan's Supreme Court confirms both decisions. Final. What happened to Kumio's daughter, the girl whose escape ended Matsunaga's reign of terror? A close friend later reveals it was just such a shocking experience that opening up about it was the only way she could deal with it. After her escape, the girl, now a young woman, spoke openly about her ordeal, the forced violence against her father, the starvation, the freezing bathroom where they were locked in winter while icy water was sprayed on them, the stew made from her father's body. She told her friend, "I had some pleasant dreams about my dad after he died." Despite years of horror, she's finding her way. She attends night school, works part-time at a children's home, gets her driver's license at 18. Her friend describes her as really cheerful. She sometimes even laughs. With a bit of makeup, she's quite a looker. But the darkness hasn't entirely disappeared. She hates Matsunaga and Ogata with a vengeance, her friend says. She told me, "I hope they get executed as soon as possible." Today, Junko Ogata is serving life imprisonment in a Japanese prison. She's 64 years old. She doesn't give interviews, doesn't write memoirs. Japanese media rarely show her face. Futoshi Matsunaga sits on death row. As of 2026, the execution has not been carried out. 7 people are gone. Kumio Toraya, 34 years old. Takashige Ogata, 61 years old, Junko's father. Shizumi Ogata, 58 years old, Junko's mother. Rieko Ogata, 33 years old, Junko's sister. Kazuya Ogata, 38 years old, Rieko's husband. Yuki Ogata, 5 years old, Junko's nephew. Aya Ogata, 10 years old, Junko's niece. No graves, no bodies, only names in court documents, only memories in the mind of one survivor. The question remains, who is Junko Ogata? A cold-blooded killer who consciously destroyed her own family, or a person so broken that she ceased to be herself? The court gave its answer, guilty, but not to the same degree as Matsunaga. Japanese society remains divided. Some see a monster who deserves execution. Others see a victim who became a tool. During the trial, Junko began to suspect that Matsunaga had violated her mother, something he'd previously blamed on Shizumi herself, claiming she'd tried to seduce him. Another layer of his manipulation revealed only after Shizumi was already gone. Prosecutors acknowledged Matsunaga's weapon was psychological manipulation. He thrived on domination and secrecy. He terrorized families, reshaping their lives using fear and intimidation. Every day, Junko Ogata wakes up in a cell and knows her mother, father, sister, niece, nephew are gone, and her hands were in it. Even if those hands held wires under someone else's command, they held them. This is not a story about a monster born a monster. This is a story about how far human control can go, about what happens when one person gains absolute power over another through fear, shame, and psychological domination. The case shocked Japan not just because of the brutality, but because it revealed something terrifying, that ordinary people, under the right conditions of terror and manipulation, can be turned into weapons against their own families. Matsunaga didn't need locks or chains. He controlled his victims with fear, shame, and the systematic destruction of identity. He made them accomplices in their own destruction. And in Junko Ogata, he found someone so broken, so isolated, so desperate, that she became his most effective tool. The story of Junko Ogata is not simply a story of evil. It's a story of erasure, the erasure of identity, of will, of humanity itself. It stands as one of the most disturbing cases in modern Japanese criminal history. A reminder that the most terrifying monsters are not always those who act alone, but those who can turn others into monsters alongside them.